Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
So, what happened to your CCCP shirt? Why?
They commandeered it.
Just asking. Just asking. Okay. The basketball portal, of course, is open. And the already 3 names are in. Now everybody knew Kanye was going. He couldn't go in until they officially opened it. And Froggy Goodmanson and Favor Ira, those are the 3 names that are in it from Penn State right now. They're already between 500 and 1,000 in. What's interesting is that Mike Rhodes is bringing in a regarded class, no question. And and I've tried to point this out before about the numbers. And that is the last 11 recruits before Mike. Okay? There's only 2 here. 6 of them never played here. 6 of them never even got on campus because of all the circumstances surrounding the program. Okay. So I know the portal, you can make up for some stuff, but you can't make up for everything. No. There's no continuity within the program. Right. So let me give you an example of what continuity means in a program. Last year, Penn State goes to the NCAA tournament, and despite all the changes and everything like that, who's out there starting for Penn State? Seth Lundy. Who's a 1,000-point scorer for Penn State? Seth Lundy. Played 4 years at Penn State. All right? Who's out there hitting threes in the NCAA tournament against Texas A&M? Miles Dredd. Miles Dredd went through everything, 5 years, the whole deal. Guess what? Okay? And gets to the NCAA tournament. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to the continuity and the culture within a program. The guys like that who stay through thick and thin and then finally get to the promised land, that's so terrific when that happens. But that's what happens when you can keep guys in the program that are high-level contributors. And Dredd and Lundy were 2 high-level contributors. Now, they built some other guys around them. They got Cam Winter in there. They got Jalen Pickett. They got Andrew Funk. I mean, that's great. And they had some recruits like Keba Jice playing center for them last year. And a couple of guys came off the bench. But when you have 11 guys, the last 11 recruits, right, 3 verbal, never showed up because there was a coaching change right before letter of intent day. And so they were looking at it like, I'm not coming in. Right? Then, of course, last year Micah left. Everybody was turned loose. You're allowed to change up. You've got 30 days to do it. And all 3 ended up going to Notre Dame. Okay. Right? So you don't have that level of continuity in the basketball program. Right? Now, that's going to change because, Mike is committed to being here for a decent period of time. He's still got 6 more years to run on this thing. All right? And that's what, that's what the program needs, that kind of stability, where you're now getting some continuity within the structure of the roster, and then making sure you're adding in the right transfer portal pieces to go with the structure. So that's where you are. And I'm also one that is not a big believer in if somebody doesn't fit, somebody doesn't fit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
There's no question.
If somebody doesn't fit,
yeah,
somebody doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And
that's any level. You see that in the NBA.
Anywhere, anytime. That's one thing. The portal has a lot of moving parts to it. And there's some guys that come in like Jalen Pickett that work, get it done. Andrew Funk, who's a great personality. In fact, Funk and Pickett are still close today. You don't have to be around somebody a long period of time to end up, getting to be close. But then you'll also, here's the other part though, is that, okay, let's get to the tough part of the transfer portal. Sometimes you bring in people and they've developed habits, and they aren't the best habits. Okay? And that's where, you get like, okay. And sometimes you have to get them out of the habits. I mean, they bring in I'm talking, it may be habits in the weight room. It may be habits on the basketball court or the football field. And, you've got to be able to see things in a short period of time about where they are, because, like I said, they bring in their mindset from a different program, different culture. I don't think people take that into account very often. They're just like, hey, what does the guy do? What position does he play? I'm like, okay. They don't think of the other stuff. And that's a problem. Yeah. That you have, no, and then sometimes you just hit it and they come in, they've got the right habits, the right structure, the right work ethic. They may have to make an adjustment here or there, but it's only like an adjustment. It's not a full realignment. And yeah, so just a couple things, and the NCAA tournament starts tonight. But yeah, so we're into the transfer portal part. I mean, this has been the story in basketball forever. Sure. At least it feels like forever.
Yeah,
we always refer to it as the waiver wire. I'm not kidding. That's what I've referred to it. It's like the waiver wire.
I think it's become a combination of waiver wire and free agency. I think free agency now has kind of stepped in that way too. College football especially. I think you absolutely now look at college football as a sense of potential free agency, but I think even basketball now, I think it's a combination. It was waiver wire 5 years ago. Yeah, I think now at this point, it's a combination of waiver wire, and you're seeing other guys that are doing one of two things. College is basketball is so much different because of, yes, there's no age limit. Yes, there is an age limit in the NBA, but it's small enough that you can play a year and get out. But I think to me, for even in college basketball now, you are seeing a lot of portal guys just trying to play to get that opportunity. You're not seeing the free agency level as much in basketball as you are in football, but you're starting to see it a little bit.
Oh, basketball's been.
Yeah.
Look.
But yeah, it's more.
Let's take, for example, Connect.
Yeah.
For Tennessee.
Yeah.
He's playing at Northern Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to see how he can play at the Power 5 level.
Sure.
Well, I'm sorry. That makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With all due respect, Andrew Funk is at Bucknell. Right?
Yeah.
And he decides, hey, he wants, and Bucknell only has a limited number of graduate courses. Limited number. Very small, in fact. And he ends up going to Penn State. Well, that's exactly right. He ends up in a Power 5 conference. He ends up in the NCAA tournament. And he ends up with the Chicago Bulls on a two-way contract after being in the G League with the Nuggets. Like, Okay, how much better is it supposed to work out for the guy? That's, he moved from Bucknell up.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, you look at Connect to Tennessee, same thing.
Yep.
I mean, I was out there, I decided to vote for the Wooden Award today. And I'm looking at the ballot, and it's a mix between guys that have been at one school the entire time, and then it's been then there were a couple of guys in there, I ended up voting for that ended up being transfers. Okay, now I'm not allowed to reveal my ballot. That's why I'm being loose about who it is. But and then you have different schools that have different standards. And now I'm going to give you one that really is going to surprise you. Okay, so we'll take Penn State off the board here about getting transfers in. So let's take them off the board. Michigan basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
So, look, there's a long list of reasons why Juwan Howard is no longer the head coach at Michigan. Okay, let's be okay. Let's not.
Yeah, you can even argue they kept him too long.
Right, but I'm saying, but there's a list of reasons. But there are two players that could have made a difference in their trajectory that both committed to transfer to Michigan, and Michigan admissions didn't open the door. Now, what the reasons were, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Michigan admissions would not let them in. One is obvious to you. The other one might not be obvious to people. Okay, Caleb Love. North Carolina, he's going to Michigan. Publicized, everybody knew he was going, the whole thing. Couldn't get in. Ended up going to Arizona. Had a terrific year at Arizona. But he was going to be the guy who was going to run the show this year at Michigan. It was not going to be Doug McDaniel. All right? That's an oil and water situation there with Doug McDaniel. And he's put his name into the transfer portal already.
Yeah.
It was going to be Caleb Love. The other one was Terrence Shannon. Terrence Shannon out of Texas Tech originally committed to Michigan and could not get in and ended up in Illinois. Well, do you think that maybe changes the trajectory of what we're seeing with Michigan basketball if they can get those two guys in? I mean, they would have been playing together this year. Well, how different does Michigan look in basketball with that? So again, not every path is a smooth one for everybody. Now, why they couldn't get in, I don't know. I mean, I assume at Texas Tech, and especially at North Carolina, that these guys are taking college-level classes and they're eligible. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the part that baffles me. And I have nothing to do with admissions. I have no idea. How it works, why it works. But if I see somebody eligible over there getting college credits, they don't count?
Apparently not.
You have to take our science. Like, well, what's the difference between your science and their science? I mean, sorry.
Algebra's still the same, I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's anything different.
I don't know.
The algebra I had compared to the algebra I had the person I met 5 years later, they had the same one.
I don't know. And I'll be really honest with you. Algebra and calculus, don't use them in my job. All right, so.
No, I think you skipped mine, too. Yeah.
Basic math, yes.
Trigonometry. I don't think I have to do trigonometry or do any of those drawings either. I think those.
That's a big thing when I came in here. You need to take trigonometry. I'm like.
That was mine too. It's almost required. I'm thinking, why?
I said, to do what?
That's what I said, for what? Well, yeah, it's almost required. I said, for what though? I'm not a math major. Well, take it. So I took it, but I haven't used it since.
I mean, I passed.
So did I.
But I sat there and went, I'm never going to use this the rest of my life. And to my credit, I have not used it the rest of my life.
I'm pretty sure I don't enter an arena thinking, oh, a squirrel climbs up a tree. Can I find the bearing and I draw the squirrel?
I just want.
I haven't really done that in probably 15 years now.
Look, somebody hands me a card that said the home run went 408 feet. We're good.
Yeah. Didn't need to do a drawing to find that out either, or find the sine or cosine or anything else.
Right. Okay.
Speaking of, with all due respect to the great folks that teach those classes, you are phenomenal. You do an exceptional job, but I just don't use it right now in my job.
Nope. Nope. Do not use. It's fine. Somebody uses it.
Yeah, somebody uses it. There. Anybody taking math as a major and wants it to be your professional career, you're using it.
Yeah.
Not us.
All right, so let's. The tournament starts tonight, so let's get to some basic numbers. All right, where it takes seconds to do this. Although
Eliminate my bracket.
No.
That doesn't even take seconds most years.
No, your bracket will get destroyed just tonight. So
they used to not count these games too. That was the worst. That was the best part of it. Now they do, and it's, you know what?
So you are somebody that is very knowledgeable. You are somebody that's very precise. And, I mean, despite all the kidding around, you cross your T's, dot your I's when you're on the air.
Absolutely.
Okay, always do. All right. God, I feel so bad being nice like that.
I know, that was painful.
All right.
I saw people creeping in heads and everywhere. Like,
you
what?
got somebody
What?
influencing me. They're like, "Oh, be nice." I'm like, "Okay." Yeah. Right. But that's true. I mean, so you're a great example of a pro's pro. Okay. I see more mistakes now.
Yeah.
Than I ever have, and I don't understand why I'm seeing so many mistakes. And I'll get let's
I
do
can
one
guess
for you.
to why.
There was one where they were doing when Iowa was playing. I don't know if it was the Ohio State game. Maybe it may have been Ohio State. And one of the networks, don't recall which one, showed Caitlin Clark and being on Iowa State. I'm like, what are we doing?
That one's bad.
Like, what are we doing here?
Right. That's bad.
Okay. Now, there are others that are small. So, Harry Smith, as you know, Harry came in and did the piece here on We Are and about Wally Triplett. Well, Harry then did a piece on Mike Gorman. Mike Gorman is retiring after 43 seasons as the voice of the Boston TV voice.
Celtics, yeah.
TV voice of the Boston Celtics. And look, Harry might go back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His wife and Mike's wife have been friends for a long time, because Terry's a producer and Andrea's on the air and things like that. But he's doing the piece. Okay, it was a terrific piece. I watched it the other day, and it was interesting. And it's something that early on in the '80s, the Celtics had a split package. They had a cable package, which eventually Mike ended up on, and they had an over-the-air package, which Gil Santos was doing. And this is when Gil was also doing Penn State football. That's what caused the rift, by the way. Because Gil kept, having to leave or miss games because he was doing the Celtics. Okay. Well, when Mike wanted to get into sports casting, and he was, I want to see if I recall the story, he's in the Maine Air National Guard, something like that. So he's flying jets, something like that. And part of the story is that, somebody said, hey, maybe you ought to talk to Gil Santos. Now, and everyone knows, and I've said this for a long time, Gil was my mentor. I sat there for 4 years. I mean, John Grant was a tremendous help. And Fran certainly had an influence, Fran Fisher, no question. But the ability to do the nuts and bolts of doing a play-by-play job, I learned a lot sitting there listening and watching Gil. Okay. And he openly helped. He says, hey, let me listen to some of your tapes, things like that. Talk about somebody who had the ability to make me, you may think I'm lousy now, but I moved my way up to lousy. No. Okay, I worked my way up too lousy in your eyes because I worked with Gil. And So they said, hey, they told Mike, you should try and talk to Gil Santos. All right. Well, Mike goes over to WBZ on Old Soldier Field Road over there, and the security guard, like, hey, come on. Yeah. Well, he notices Mike's air hat in the back, right? He goes, hey, I flew jets too. How about that? So gets him to talk to Gil, and then Mike starts on the path, goes to Providence, finally gets himself to the Celtics. Well, awfulannouncing.com picks up the story. No, I already watched the story, but I'm reading it because, you're talking about people I know. I know Mike, and obviously, really knew Gil.
Sure.
I get to this part, okay? Now, I know this is going to sound like a tiny, petty thing, but they spell Gil's name, Gill. Well, that's not how he spells his name. That's not how Gil's passed away.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's not tiny.
But he spelled his name Gill.
Or if you do it, you own up to it.
Right. But
real quick.
He spelled his name Gill.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that. I'm like going, and I stopped reading it. I'm like, if you're not going to be that precise, I'm not going to.
Right.
And you know how long it takes to look it up?
Yeah, exactly.
12 seconds.
Especially now.
12 seconds.
Especially now.
And with really good internet, 8.
Yeah.
Just to make sure. And somebody said to me, well, as the editor. Editor what? You can edit yourself.
Yeah, you can edit yourself. Right. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But those are the kind of okay, and then I decided to watch the beginning. Then I turned it off of the women's selection show. And the host, not the panelist, the host can't pronounce Albany.
Can't pronounce a state capital.
There are only 4 regions.
Lord.
Okay. You don't think in the staff meetings that came up, and I'm talking didn't the first time botch it. She kept botching it. Then it became a running joke. And her quote was, well, it's a Southern thing. Oh, really? There's Albany in Georgia.
There's an Albany in Georgia, yeah.
I was sitting there I went to that click. Look, if you're not good enough to do that, there's only 4 cities.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? And it's not a joke.
It's also not hard. It's not embarrassing to pull somebody aside prior to going on and saying, "Hey, I say it this way, right?"
Right.
I've done it a million times.
Well, it's like this year, New Holland was one of the advertisers for Penn State football, basketball, and Roger Corey kept telling them over and over again, "There's Lancaster, California. There's Lancaster, Texas, right?"
Yep.
But
So
here
they
it's
said,
Lancaster.
It's Lancaster. Yep.
And Roger kept telling him that's how you pronounce it.
Yep.
Right? Now you're saying, well, these are just small things.
No.
Okay,
No.
when I am sitting there and I'm talking
No, it
to
isn't.
my class, I tell them the same thing over and over again. Take care of the little things, and the big things take care of themselves.
Yeah.
And that I sat there and this isn't old man get off the lawn.
No.
Hey, we're talking professionalism here.
Yeah.
Right? Did you take the time to figure it out?
And that a lot of times that may be and especially when it comes to names, you talk about maybe that being a little league or a high school story. That may be the only time that player name is in the paper or name is recognized and you screwed it up. That's a problem.
Well, we're at Ohio State. Now, I don't pay attention to the public address announcers.
No.
Sorry, Jeff.
No.
We're sort of on the air.
Yeah.
Right? But Favor Ire came into the game at Ohio State. And the guy says, now and for Penn State, because we're in a commercial break.
Yeah.
Right? And number 12, Favor Air. Like, you have to have your own personal standard and personal pride, right? Oh, do we make okay? Can I take a mistake? Sure, I can take a mistake.
Of course,
In other words, say for example, botches up Albany once, okay?
You're and then somebody corrects them, and then you're good.
Or that happens, or
Absolutely.
Just it just came out wrong. You were thinking of something else, whatever. Okay. But to repeatedly do it, right, means you have no idea what it is, right? I mean, I said, I'll tell people when I make a mistake. What the heck? I mean, the play in the Ohio State game where they were going down the sideline, with the fumble, the whole thing, it was Curtis Jacobs, and I said it was Daquan Hardy because I'm like, the Nationwide building's the only place that's higher than the press box at Ohio State. Yeah. Right. But I made a mistake. Okay. That happens. Okay. A mistake happens. All right. And I couldn't look at the replay because the television's over my head. I mean, you want to talk about a poorly constructed, Jack could see because he was over, but it was underneath me, and I kept looking up. I couldn't see it. So you make a mistake, but stuff like that, I'm like, what are we doing? So now let's get to the expansion of the NCAA tournament idea. And again, this doesn't take long to do. All right? So let's talk about the college football playoff first. College football playoff is going to go from 4 teams to 12 this year. Well, let's look at the people who are like, oh, wow, that's a big expansion. It's a big expansion up to a point. Okay, Major League Baseball, 12 out of 30 teams make it, right? Okay, so if, so 12 out of 30 teams make it, which is what, 40%, right? You look at the NFL, 14 out of 32 make it. That's what, 43%? Okay. The NBA is 2/3 because that play-in tournament, to me, counts. That's 20 out of 30 that make it. Yep. And the NHL is 16 out of 32, 50%. So those are the pros. I understand it's the pros, the playoffs. That's where the ownership especially starts to make some money compared to the regular season. Yeah, so I understand that. And for TV networks, the inventory, critical. But we get to the college game. Only 3% of all college football teams made it to the college football playoff each year. Well, by expanding to 12, you're going to get up to, voila, 9%. When they go to 14, now they haven't officially done it yet, but when that is the next step, you're going to be at 10.5%. That means 89.5% of all college football teams will not be in the playoff. 89.5%. So let's get now to the NCAA tournament. Right now, 18.7% of all Division I teams make the NCAA tournament. So nearly 19%. It's 18.7. Okay? All right. If they were to go to 76, the number would be 20.5%. That means 79.5% of all college basketball teams will not be in the NCAA tournament. So it's not as dramatic of 68 to 76. Now, I understand what the significance of the 64 has been. My goodness, I can remember when they got to 40. Hey, let's go to 40, and then let's go to 48.
48, yep.
Right, 48. Then they go to 64, then 65, then 68. And it's been 68 for a long period of time now.
Several years now. Yep.
Okay. You add 8 more, you get 76. Okay. You can make the tournament work at 76. But let's not make it seem like everybody's in.
Right.
No, everybody's not in. Because 79.5% aren't in. Now, I realize that a large percentage of that happens to be every member except for one of the Northeast Conference, every member except for one of the America East, everyone but one in the Patriot League. I got that. I understand that. But in this particular scenario, for example, like Indiana State, there's no doubt they're in.
Yep.
Right? Why does the Mountain West have 6 in the tournament and the Big East has 3?
Right.
You go to 76, St. John's is in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, does St. John's deserve to be in? Yes.
You betcha. Absolutely.
Right? They deserve to be in. Now, there's some other teams I'm not so sure about, like being in. Like, take Virginia. As I mentioned yesterday, Virginia has as many quad one wins as Penn State.
It does. Yep.
Really? Right. So it'll create arguments of spots 77 through 84. I do understand that. Just like going to 12 is going to create arguments between 13 and 18. Going to 14 is going to create arguments between 15 and 20. It's just natural.
No doubt about it.
And that's always what's made something that's intriguing about college sports are the arguments as much as the success.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, absolutely. Especially the college football. College football, it reaches it more so. Just because it used to matter when you lost. Now it doesn't as much. It does to an extent. The early season losses were obviously better.
It's devastating. There's no question about that.
There's no doubt.
That you'd lose a game early, you'd be devastated.
Yeah.
I mean, but when Penn State won its first national championship,
lost to Alabama.
They lost in the fifth game of the season and came back and won. They lost at Alabama down at Legion Field.
Yeah.
All right. And they came all the way back and won.
And
then in 1994, didn't lose a single game and didn't win.
No, it didn't win. And didn't even get the chance.
Like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can lose a couple times and may still have a chance. Okay?
Yeah. LSU won a national championship with 2 losses.
No.
Yeah. Miles' year, they had 2 losses.
They had 2 losses and won the national title?
I'm pretty sure. Les Miles' national championship year?
Yeah, I don't think they had 2 losses.
I think they did.
I don't think anybody's had 2 losses
I thought LSU
to win the
did.
national championship. Especially when it was at BCS,
I thought
1 versus 2. They lost. Didn't they lose to Alabama? No, Alabama
They
beat
did,
them.
but remember there was that chaos the last week of the season.
They got to the BCS.
Yeah,
national
11-2 as seasons leading the Tigers. Yep, 2007. Let me see what their record was. I'm pretty sure they had 2 losses because they got in over a 1-loss team. I thought.
Really?
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, I'm surprised that.
Let's see if I can find. What was it? 2007. They won that one, right? See if I can find LSU football. But I'm pretty sure. I think they were the one team.
Really?
Let me take a look here.
With Les Miles.
Yeah, it was the year they won the national title. Was it? I'm trying. I thought it was 07. Maybe it was 08.
I thought they won in 08. They won in 08. They beat Ohio State, I think. In 08. Didn't they?
Yeah, they did. They beat Yep. Yeah, they beat Ohio State 38-24. Let's see what their record was.
Because that's the year they won.
Yeah, this has them at 8-5 in 08. So that must have been 07 going into
07. It was the January 08. I think it was January 7th, 08 they played.
12-2.
12-2. Who the heck did they lose to?
I remember one of their losses was to I think you're right. I think one of those losses was the Bama. They beat Florida that year because they beat them on by 1 score. Lost to Kentucky 43-37.
Well, how do you lose Kentucky?
And beat Alabama. So who was their other loss?
Obviously
Arkansas and Kentucky.
But they won the SEC title.
Won the SEC title game. Yep. Won. Yep.
So, okay. Well, they went this.
Yeah, they got in over a 1-loss team. I remember that distinctly. That was how I remembered it. I can't remember who they got in over. It was complete chaos that championship Saturday. There were a lot of teams lost, and LSU got in. I do remember that. And of course,
the Big Ten didn't have a championship game.
No, not at that time.
And they if I remember, they beat Ohio State. Right?
They did. Yeah, beat them 38-24.
Yeah. So.
I thought they beat Alabama. I thought Alabama beat them that year. Yeah, they lost to Arkansas and Kentucky.
Well, no offense. You should never lose to those two teams. You lose to them, and it's like you're a national champ.
What was the year? Was Les Miles still the coach the year they couldn't get the field goal unit on? There was one year they lost to somebody. They couldn't get the field goal unit on. They literally.
It was LSU.
That was LSU. Yeah.
That was Les Miles.
Yeah.
I mean, Les Miles was the coach when Penn State beat him in the Capital One Bowl down in Orlando. And they're trying to drive downfield, right, to try and win the game. You know, they needed a field goal, and they just totally botched up the time management on the drive. I think Jefferson was their quarterback.
Yep, I do remember that.
And Navarro Bowman laid down to one of their linemen. The clock's running. They're out of timeouts because he used all his timeouts early.
It's pouring rain.
Like, way to go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like went to the Brad Underwood School of timeouts.
Yeah, definitely. I think it might have been Ole Miss, I think they played. But, I definitely remember that one. Because I remember Pat Bowlen, or the late great Pat Bowlen being here. I'm sitting there getting ready for the post game because Penn State played that day. It was an away game.
Yeah,
I was in the studio and I just hear him yelling, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" I ran over.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Well, but you're going to be able. There might be a 3-loss team that gets in.
Yeah, especially now. Absolutely. When it gets to 14, well, even 12. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think there's no doubt.
And that's, I mean, you're right. But here's the other part, though. So let's talk about the SEC and the Big Ten. The competition in the conference, is going to dramatically change for everybody. I mean, it's just going to dramatically change for everybody. Because suddenly, and I'm talking about for the 4 teams out west and for the 14 teams in this conference. Suddenly now with USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington in there, in football and basketball, it's going to change. With Texas and Oklahoma going to the SEC, it's going to change. No offense, in the Big 12, it's not going to change that much. No. It's just not. And in the ACC, it's not going to change at all. I mean, Stanford, Cal, and SMU are not going to. They're not challenging for the top 3 spots. They're not. They're not challenging for that. Right in the Big 12, because you lost Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah, those the Utah, Arizona State, Colorado. Can they challenge for the top 3 spots? Yeah, but you're not sitting there going, "Ooh, wow, look how great that conference is." Nobody's thinking that.
No.
Okay? But with Texas and Oklahoma, it's an upgrade to the level of competition game in and game out, both in football and in basketball. I mean, Oklahoma's a good basketball program. Texas is a good basketball program. It's going to up the ante across the board for them playing against the SEC, although the Big 12 is a great basketball conference. And also in football, it's going to up the ante there. Basketball, in the Big 10, look, USC, Oregon in particular are going to up the ante. All right, UCLA to a point, Washington to a point. They're in flux right now. We don't know what's going on with them because they lost a lot of starters. Kalen DeBoer got his big contract yesterday approved, along with Nate Oates, by the Alabama board of whatever they are, and okay, but Washington is in a state of transition in the football program.
Yeah, a lot of starters missing too.
Basketball, Washington again. They're going to be in a state of transition in the basketball program because Mike Hopkins is not coming back. Oregon's in the NCAA tournament, but they have an older team that is going to lose a couple of guys. UCLA just had a weird year in basketball. Yep. And they've had major change in football with Foster now the head coach and Chip Kelly being the offensive coordinator. Yep. At Ohio State, and Deshaun Foster takes over there. USC's coming off a year in football where you're like, I don't get it.
Yeah, big time.
And now, not only that, you have to replace the quarterback, both wide receivers. You got a lot of transition there, and a defense where it doesn't matter. No offense, who you replace there. All right. And in basketball, I don't know what happened to them this year.
No, I don't.
They've been an NCAA tournament team. This year they weren't even close. They weren't even over 500. Boogie Ellis is a good player. Rodman had transferred in from he transfers from Washington State and Washington State makes the tournament and USC's out.
Yeah.
He transferred in. He was a big recruit. Now, and then we don't have to get into the Bronny James thing.
No, and you can't even make that excuse into distraction either with Bronny James, because USC has repeatedly had that attention on them. O.J. Mayo, going back all the way to O.J. Mayo to now. Yeah, they've had the attention on them. So
I'll tell you off the air the O.J. Mayo recruiting story. I'll tell you.
No, that was... Well, I'll tell you one.
No, I'll tell you that one off the air.
Well, he was one that challenged. I could tell this one on air. Remember, he challenged Jordan at his camp.
Yeah, I know.
Jordan annihilated him.
Of course he did. All right.
You never poke the bear. You never poke Michael. Corey Benjamin, too. I remember that.
No.
Oh, he could beat Jordan by 8. Yeah, he didn't even score 3 on him.
No.
And it was the 20.
But they're still going to up the ante, and the travel part of it is going to be interesting. Now, the teams going out there, yeah, you do have to travel out there, but you have to do it once. I know they haven't put the schedule out yet, but really, let's use some common sense here.
Exactly.
You're going to make one West Coast trip every year. One's going to be to the Northwest. The next year, the other one's going to be to Los Angeles. Okay? All right, and then they'll flip-flop of those guys coming to your place or whatever. Okay. All right. But they have to do it how many times? 5 times?
Yeah.
5 times.
Yeah.
Get on the plane, fly east, play the 2 games, go back. Like 5 times they're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
Right? That's not easy. Same thing with the football part, but at least there's a week off in between. But you're playing a 9-game schedule. There's going to be some now part of the 9-game schedule is going to be it's going to be 4 times. Okay? And sometimes you may be playing Oregon and Washington. But it's going to be, it could be as many as 4 times coming this way. Because USC and UCLA are going to play each other.
Right.
So it's going to eliminate one of them having to, get a road game in. But that'll be the hard part. And we haven't even talked about the other sports yet.
No.
There's certain sports where it won't affect you at all. It will have zero effect on wrestling.
Yeah.
Because none of those 4 wrestle.
No.
And none of them are adding it anytime soon. No. Okay? Just not going to. I was on a show this morning. Actually, the first thing they talked about for the first 10 minutes of the show I was on this morning was about Penn State wrestling, which was cool.
Nice.
Right? So I told my Galen Driver story. Yeah, I've known Galen for 40 years, 45 years, whatever the number is. 40 years I've known Galen. He came up to me 2 weeks ago at the field. He said, Steve, I thought this would be great. He said, and now we're standing here all these years later. And we're still winning, and we're better than ever. He says, I can't believe it sometimes. Never get bored or complacent with success.
No. Because everybody else is getting better when you're winning.
But never get bored or complacent with now. Now, Kale's not. I'm talking about the fans.
He never is.
Okay? Buy the tickets.
Yeah.
Appreciate seeing something that's incredible. Appreciate you're seeing.
Yeah. Okay. You may never see it again.
Remember when North Carolina won 4 straight women's soccer national titles? Oh, wow. Oh, hey, great. UConn, hey, and women's basketball. Hey, great. This is the greatest run.
I agree.
Since John Wooden and UCLA winning 10 out of 12. UConn women didn't win 10 out of 12.
No.
I think he's won 11 national titles.
Yeah.
Right? But it's been spread out, like that's a negative.
Yeah, especially if Pat Summitt wins, 8 now.
Right.
8 now. 8 before she passed away.
Yeah.
And then, 11 for UConn.
Starting in 95.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. With Lobo. Yep.
Russ Rose won 4 in a row. Russ Rose won 7 overall, 4 in a row. Okay. And the fact that the way this is being done,
Yeah.
I mean, no offense, they might be better next year.
Yeah. This could be one of the very best teams they've ever assembled this year. Yeah, there's no question. This team is
It's
real
not
good.
out of the realm of possibility that the title is clinched by the end of the semifinals.
Yeah.
On
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon.
And what else is unbelievable? We've seen 4-time national champions, 4 times now? 3 or 4 times?
Yeah.
You could see it twice on the same team.
Yeah, right.
That's incredible.
Okay, imagine you're the number 1 seed at 174. The 8-9 matchup is Carter Starace against whomever. I have no idea who. You got to face him in the next round instead of the finals?
Instead of the finals. Oh.
Oh, man. Okay. Ooh, top 4 seeds on upset alert. ESPN's got all sorts of great upset alerts. It's really, really great. And to my credit, I pay attention to none of them. I give them credit for sending me stuff that just is so irrelevant. Just irrelevant.
I'll never forget the Jaguars and Dolphins. Here's why the Jaguars will lose, and they score 62.
Yeah, I know.
Here's why the Lomas Browns guarantee is absolutely right on at Veterans Stadium. The Eagles scored 38 in the first half.
Okay. But you have to remember, leading into something, they're being told you got to write something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got it.
I understand.
So the tournament, let's do an entire expose on why McNeese State can be a Sweet 16 team. Okay, and of course they
get knocked down round one.
Round one, like okay, well, but they were told, hey, pick one and do it. It's like,
and do it. I get it.
I have no
Absolutely.
problem. I have no problem with that. I have a problem with factual errors. Okay,
Especially when it's written.
right.
You can Google something easily anymore.
Right. Right. They have this thing called Google. Mm-hmm. Really? What does that do? I was talking to my class about that. I point this out to every class. Take care of the little things. The big things will take care of themselves. Okay? Don't jump to the big things. You got to take care of the little things. That way the big things do take care of themselves.
Sure.
Well, obviously your CCCP shirt is in the wash. We'll talk to you tomorrow.